Hey everybody, I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA on Choice Tax Relief. You know, we help folks who owe the IRS or their state at least $10,000 in back tax debt. Another thing we do is help folks who have gotten behind on their income tax filing, whether or not the IRS has already filed an SFR against them. What's an SFR? An SFR is a substitute for return. That is a document that the IRS prepares for those folks who have not filed their required tax return. Okay, not something you want. Okay, not something you want at all. Because the IRS can then assess tax against you and then take collection action against you based on that SFR. And that's an answer question today. Cuss IMAC asks, how does the SFR department work? I received a code on my transcript that an SFR was filed, but the taxes assessed next to it says 0, assuming it's in the process of assessing final taxes based on SFR. I faxed my 1040 into SFR department. Will they get it right away and stop the assessment based on the SFR? Okay, so what you need to know, because this can be kind of confusing, it's sometimes confusing for some tax professionals as well, is sometimes if the IRS has just initiated that SFR process, you're going to see a code on the account transcript for that year. You know, it's like, I think it's usually a 150 code indicating that an SFR has been prepared by the IRS, okay? But it can be a year later, 2 years later, before that assessment is actually made based on that SFR. Why? Because the IRS, well, after they prepare an SFR, they still send you a bunch of notices, okay, before they actually assess the tax, okay? And some of these are legally required notices, right? So there's typically a gap between the preparation of the SFR and the actual assessment based on the SFR that you would see on your account transcript. So that's kind of where that confusion lies. I hope I clear that up for you. You know, and then your next question, I faxed my 1040 into the SFR department. Will they get it right away and stop the assessment based on the SFR? I mean, theoretically, yeah, right? I mean, if you fax it to the, to the SFR department, hopefully it goes to, the exams department, right? Which is what happens when you do an SFR protest return. And hopefully they look at it and, they process it before the SFR assessment is made. Even if not, you're not completely out of luck if the SFR assessment is made before that SFR protest return is filed. In our experience, we have noticed that once an SFR process has been initiated, SFR protest returns are generally scrutinized a bit more than if the taxpayer had simply filed an original return before the IRS initiated those SFR proceedings. So, just FYI, you may, that I don't want to say that, don't take all your expenses, but, just be aware that at least in our experience, SFR protest returns are maybe scrutinized a little bit more than just, hey, you didn't file this year, IRS hasn't started the SFR process and you're just filing the return. But, theoretically, that should happen. But if the IRS, is fine with your SFR protest return, even after the SFR assessment's made, it'll replace the balance due, and recalculate the penalties and interest to reflect the return that you filed. Okay. All right, Cuss, I'm at good questions, great questions. These are the kind of questions that you got to think through when you're dealing with the IRS SFR department. It's called ASFR because they're important. And sometimes there's some strategy here that you can really miss and lose your footing or kind of step in the wrong spot in your path to getting right with the IRS. So it's good you're asking these questions. Folks, I have some other videos about what to do if you have not filed several years of back tax returns. Those videos are on the side of the screen here. Also, if you have multiple years of unfiled tax returns, please call us here at Choice Tax Relief to request a free consultation, 866-8000-TAX. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.